Good afternoon. Welcome to today's advisor forum. My name is Ross Hawkins. I'm the director of the Academic Advising and Transfer Center. Uh, Typical with advisor forums, I'm going to do a quick couple announcements and then I will turn it over to our presenter. First, I just want to say I hope everyone's doing well. I know it's been a busy time of the year, so hopefully in the next maybe week or two, many of us will be able to catch our breath before summer advising, before SOAR begins. If you have an advisor form topic idea for the fall semester, please let me know. There was an announcement in Inside Missouri State on Tuesday with the link that you can use to request a topic, or you can visit the Academic Advising and Transfer Center webpage, the information for advisors link, and you'll see the link there to suggest a topic as well. Or if you're also welcome to email me a topic idea. I have received several for the fall semester, and I really, really appreciate that because it helps me plan advisor forums that meet the needs of you all. This will be our final advisor forum for the spring 2024 semester. This advisor forum, since it's being offered on Zoom, will be recorded and it will be posted on the Mo State Advising YouTube channel within 1 week. So if you know of individuals who could benefit from the information shared today, please refer them to the Mo State Advising YouTube channel. Those individuals can watch a recorded advisor forum from either fall 2023 or spring 2024 and receive credit, master advisor credit for watching those recordings as long as they enter a custom submission feature on the advisor certification database. So again, this form will be recorded and it will be posted within 1 week. So again, welcome everyone. We've got a great turnout for today's advisor forum. I am now going to turn it over to Karmen at Ketchum-Brewer in the College of Business, Business Advisement Center, who has agreed to speak today on using proactive advising and academic planning to better serve our advisees. Karmen, it's all you.
Thanks, Ross. Okay. Get this up here. All right. So I'm Karmen Brewer. I am an academic advisor, retention specialist in the College of Business, Business Advisement Center. And so we are today going to look at using proactive communication, advising, and academic planning to better serve our advisees. So with our number of students that we work with, we needed a plan or process to see them early in the semester. So we were able to, if I can get this to, there we go. So in saying that, we asked ourselves, what can we do? How can we be proactive? And so we came up with that we needed something that was a way to strategically and consistently reach out to our students to get them to make an appointment. So because we want to actively seek out those solutions, opportunities, improvements to eliminate concerns, barriers for success, because we know they're out there. And then through that, we want to utilize planning, organizing to provide steps to achieve this goal. So, and their academic goals. So this is kind of where we started as far as this. Now with the planning then, we wanted to use it to help students succeed by strategically helping them set goals, both short and long term. Short being maybe I just need to pass math. Long term being I would really like to graduate spring 2027. Those kinds of things that would work with that. Plus, so in trying to do that, to accomplish those, we wanted to provide a timeline to complete activities, processes, certain things, identify resources, support systems to help achieve that success. And in all of this, to optimize their actual learning experience, because we know those soft skills are in everything, whether it's a topic or, something they're studying. So those soft skills, and to progress towards that educational goal objective of graduation, we hope, with that. So this is kind of the foundation of what we came up with. So in doing that, so being proactive and using academic planning, these were just a three processes that we have been using. The first is the communication plan by semester, by week in semester. So we have a specific plan that we go through every semester, that our office will email certain things at certain times, and we'll look at that within the semester, just to hopefully get them to make the appointment. What's that called? A nudge, something, in order to get them to make an appointment with us or earlier than they might. We also, on the planning end of it, I kind of went through and looked at some to-do lists and checklists that we have done. And these are some things that we have kind of categorized by their class, like freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, on when they should do things. And then also planning by month within the semester, because some things you really need to do, in January versus March, that kind of thing. So that's kind of where we're going here. So for our communication plan that we have set up, we do have a series of mass emails that we send to College of Business students. We have, those are set up, and so we know when to send them and that kind of thing. Sometimes it's a large group. And so with that, sometimes our groups of students, we divide them up so that we can more efficiently deal with them and stagger them so that we don't overload systems, the booking system, and then also our front desk. And we do warn the front desk as well that these are going out, because usually, 2 or 3 days around that time, after that time, then in addition on the day, but there may be a lot more traffic than normal. We do send those emails from the Business Advisement Center, and we do blind copy because we're using multiple students, so it's all safe. But we do that, and then any responses that we get will go to our office, and then they can be disseminated to the advisor if needed. So let's look at with that. So with everything, we always need to be able to assess. Is this something that is working? Is it not working? What do we need to do? That kind of thing. So how we have found that we can assess this is our booking software will allow us to look and see how many appointments were made on a specific day. So we've been able to track that. Now, the data I've used just to give us some examples and to kind of see that it is working is fall 2023. So last semester, fall 2023, and this data goes from the week before classes to finals week. So we can see how many appointments were made on each day. So this is kind of what we're going through, and how we've been able to assess that we think that it is working and it is reaching people, and they are making an appointment. They're performing an action after they receive our notification. So in the fall, these are some mass emails that we sent, so you kind of know some of the topics that we've done. We obviously don't send any the first week. That's hairy enough without adding any extra. So we do have week 2, and through week 4, this is kind of here, but we do, in the College of Business, we do require that students have a 2.5 in all upper division business courses to graduate. That is very important. So we do send very early in the semester an email out to all of those students who are below that. I think they also go out to those that are exactly on that, because we want to make sure that they get in to make sure they're aware of what they need to do. Now, hopefully, this is their first semester. They just have one semester of upper division. So they may have some more time. They may be in their last semester, and then that's when it's more critical. So, but this is kind of one of the first ones we do. Also, we do have admission requirements to get into the College of Business. And so we do have a query that will run, that we run and get who's eligible to actually file their degree program and be admitted into the College of Business. So this is a large group of students. And so we do kind of spread those out, as you can see. For that. So with that, we can kind of just see if we look over here at the numbers, just to see now, August the 21st was the first day of class. So we would expect that there would be more appointments made on that day, because they kind of figure out what's going on that. And then, but we can kind of see around the 29th, it picks up a little bit, a little more on the 31st. And then this here is Labor Day. So we didn't have too much, but right after Labor Day, it really goes up high. So we think that, you know, we've had 3 emails kind of in here, and then there's another one that goes on the 11th. And then, yeah, so I mean, we think that with this, something caused the students to be able to make an appointment, to be aware that they needed to do that. So that's the first couple of weeks in the semester. And then kind of continuing with the 4th week, but then also to the 5th week, our students who have DGDX holds, they will, we email them a couple of times here, and just to remind them that they have that, because that will stop them from registering. And so they need to get in so we can either see what we need to do. Do we need to file their degree program and their admission paperwork? Or do we need to figure out what they need to do because they're not eligible yet? So we have to kind of gauge that and kind of figure out what we want to do for that. We also, junior, senior students on probation, sometimes they haven't had to have an advisor release. Maybe they're over 75 hours and they've been in good standing, and then this had a fluke, and so now they're on probation. So we let them know as well that they're going to need to come in, because that might be a little bit different. And we like to see the students on probation anyway, to kind of make sure they're getting the resources they need. So that's kind of what this email is. Not only do you need an advisor release, but come talk to us about, you know, how we can help, how we can get you the resources you need so that you can get back in good standing. And then we have the junior seniors. So when we do junior seniors, the upperclassmen, we let them know when registration is going to start. They've already got something from admissions telling them, or yeah, the registrar telling them that the schedules are out, that kind of thing. And so we let them know just again that this is when this is going to happen. And we can tell here that really just right after that, we get a very big jump here. But these are, you know, kind of just a little bit here and there, but then it's a big jump when we let the junior seniors know that registration is going to start. And then we also let the freshman, sophomore on probation. We try to get them to come in so that we can get them the resources that they need. Then through week 6 through 8, this is where we send something for all the students that are going to need an advisor release. So those below 75 hours, they're on probation, new transfer students, any of those students that are going to need an advisor release, we let them know when registration is going to start and have them go ahead and get in. Plus, one more time, we say, are the DGDX holds, who else is on there? Run it new and send the new people again saying, hey, you got to get in here or you're going to, you know, not be able to register. So we can kind of see, you know, here, then we had a pretty big jump here for the 10th. And then the 18th is high too, but if we look here, we also send students with DF and or W at midterm. So midterm just finished, grades are out. So we will send those students something saying, hey. Now, this is also the time that there's probably a lot of other things because registration is starting like in a couple weeks. So there's probably some other factors there, but it does seem to be something that has made more people interested in making an appointment. We also try to send, now, as you see, we don't send a lot kind of during this time because we're busy. we're busy. And hopefully, individually, we're working with the students to get them in, that kind of thing, but we don't do the mass mailings as far as this time of year until after pre-registration. And then we do send another email to those students who have not registered for next semester. And so this is, we sent it out here, which was the Monday after classes, pre-registration stopped. And it's also Thanksgiving here. So that's why there's so little. But when they get back from Thanksgiving, it does bump up a little bit there. So we can see that was, there's something students think. We also get a lot of email replies for if students are not coming back, maybe they're, they've got something else going on. This also tells us that if they were on this list, but they're graduating, that means they haven't applied for graduation. So we remind them at that point that, hey, well, it's because you're on this list because you didn't apply and you need to be able to, go ahead and do that today so that they can get, the registrar can get all of that together. So this has been helpful even in addition to the appointments, but that is something that I see, just a few here and there, but we do learn that maybe somebody's going back home or, they're transferring somewhere else or they're changing their program. So they're changing, going somewhere else, or they need to take a semester off. You never know. But that's kind of what we have on that. So those are the emails and kind of how we think they've kind of benefited in our appointments being booked. So it's kind of getting the idea of making an appointment with their advisor out there. So that's kind of, and it seems to work fairly well for us. And I think with the numbers, it just kind of has made us feel like this worth the trouble to do that. So then moving on then to the academic planning. So now this is done, we kind of came up with this working with different students classifications because we know that a freshman may need something different than a junior. And so throughout their process, they're going to have different needs. For instance, a freshman may focus on the exploration of careers, well, juniors, hopefully, not 100% of course, but hopefully are more settled in their major. They kind of know they're able to concentrate on a specific career so that we can kind of focus on those types of things. Now, some resources we know are valuable throughout the whole college career. And so you will see repeats of things that we would talk about during, all of those. So we're going to start with freshmen. So first and second semesters, the first semester is probably on some of these a little more critical than the second. But as always, we want to connect with resources. If we've referred them to something, we want to follow up and make sure that they are following through with what we recommended or what we've referred them to, or have they found another, resource that's been helpful? We want to know, are they actually doing what they need to do? So that's kind of the main thing, kind of connecting them with those resources that they need, making sure that they're following through with that. because this is more of a first semester thing, but because SOAR we know is crazy, and it's even 2 days, it's so fast, so much information, they're so overwhelmed. We like to review policies and procedures, or at least ask if they need us to review them. Now they're in GEP, so they're going to be getting, part of this as well during that, and they may not need anything, but I have found that I always like to ask them. They're still kind of new in this relationship, and so they may not feel confident enough to say, oh, I don't remember how to do that. So I always like to ask, is that something? We also, of course, we know systems change, and so sometimes our registration system isn't the same as it was before. And so that would be something we would have to ask everybody now. Have you looked at it? Do you know how to do that kind of thing? But this is kind of just a review, just to make sure that they do know how to register, how to run an audit, and any other policies, procedures, kinds of things that we think they may ask that we need to go over with them. This is also the year that we explore different career options, potential majors, academic disciplines. We do have information from the departments on particular job titles our students have gone out as, specific employers that our students have gone to. That gives them some place to start. So the information that we have, I feel like it kind of gives them a place to start in their research, gives them some job titles. Sometimes those are hard to come by as far as to know what to search. But they do have that. And then we refer them to our Career Center webpage. They have great resources there on what can I do with this major? And they have all kinds of great research there, in addition to actually making an appointment with them to talk with them about different things that are associated with that. But that's kind of where we start on that. Part of that information that we get for the departments is also their student organizations that are within those departments. We like to inform these students of those organizations in the College of Business that are specific in networking with other majors of the same major, and also those that network with them employers, because a lot of them have speakers come in. There's alumni that will come and be part of things, and so a lot of times they can get information there. And as we know, as far as retention, engagement is very important. So we want the students to be engaged, excited about their major, their college, whatever that is of interest to them. We want them to be excited about it. And so this is one way that we can do that. Also at this point, we also look at education abroad programs, just kind of making sure they're aware that they're there, making sure kind of the differences, faculty led short term, or do you want to go a semester, just to let them know what those options are, so that they can kind of help plan, because those a lot of times do require some planning, planning financially maybe, and additional, how can I do that with everything else that's going on in my life kind of deal. So we just kind of want to let them know kind of what are their options there. So that's the freshman year. For sophomore year, again, the resources, that's really always there. We want to make sure that they're getting plugged in where they need, they're getting this resources that they need, the support system that they need. And so we want to make sure we do that. We also, again, we're still talking about careers. They've been in school a year. So with that, things may change. They may have decided they don't want to do that. They may decide, hey, I didn't even know this existed. That sounds interesting. I want to look at that. So there's a lot of different things that can happen in that year that may change what they're thinking. I have also had students that always wanted to be something their first year of college decided, hey, maybe I want to do something different. But then this year they're like, nope, I want to do what I first thought I wanted to do. So there's a lot of, a lot of changes. So we still want to explore that, ask about that, that's something there. In addition to that, internships, it's time for them to kind of start thinking about it. Is this something that you would want to do? Would you be open to do it? Look at the major. Does it require it? How can I get one? Who do I need to see? All of those kinds of questions involved in the internship. So we want to kind of plant that seed as well, that they know kind of what's going on. And then a little more, want to gauge their interest in education abroad. Now, we've kind of touched on it previously, but we want to make sure that, okay, now we're like, do you want to do this? Especially before they take their cultural competence, because they can meet that. And so we want to make sure, is this something that is definitely something you want to do? Or is this something that you do not want to do? Because that kind of changes on how we plan things. So we want to kind of touch base on that again. Now, we may already know after the first year that yes, they want to do it, and here we're just talking about what's available when, and they can get this particular class, and they need the IDS 297 for their cultural competence, and this is offered that way, and we could do this trip. And so we can kind of, at this point, kind of make bigger plans for that, if that's something that they're interested in, and it's not something that we've already taken care of the previous year. So we like to just continue to kind of visit that subject to see. All right, so that's sophomore. So junior year, we have here, we have the 5th and the 6th semesters. Now, this is a busy year for us. So this is the year that they apply for admission to the College of Business and to their major. During that process, we provide them with a plan of the remaining graduation requirements, their courses, prerequisites. Are they offered only once a year? Are they offered, online this semester, but not this semester? Those kinds of things, all those ins and outs of the major, and they're all different, and sometimes they change, but they're all different and have different requirements. So we want to make sure that they have all those courses, as well as the other graduation requirements, GPA, residency requirements. So we just want to make sure that we have all of that. In addition to that, during that appointment, we also talk to them about the accelerated master's program. Is that something that they're even eligible for? Is it something of interest? And then we kind of pursue that and refer them to the COB graduate programs. We kind of do just a general mixed credit kind of spiel as far as, well, here's kind of the way that works. But then they have to meet with the graduate advisor, be admitted there in order to get those permissions to register that way. But that's definitely something that we want to start the conversation with here. Sometimes it comes up earlier, but this is kind of, at this point, we need to know, because they will miss out on getting as many of their mixed credit classes as they can if we wait any longer than, in planning for that. And again, the resources, again, we don't want to forget them. We want to make sure that we do get those, that they're still getting the resources that they need. Yes, they've been here, but we still want to make sure that they're getting what they need. Talk again about internships. This time it's a little more probably critical to talk about internships, especially they need to know, are they required? A lot of them require one in the summer. Is that something, could I do it during the regular semester? How do I get one? What do I need to do to get the college credit? Do I need college credit? So sometimes that's the issue as well. And then we also will talk about career fairs, because a lot of them will get their internship people, their employees that they're going to do, their interns, they'll get those during those career fairs, and that's why they're so early in the semester usually because of that. And the College of Business has one in the fall, the university has one in the spring. So that works out pretty well. There's one a semester for them. And so we'll make sure that they kind of know that and know how they can ask about, certain questions, things like that. And then we'll put them in, in touch with the resume cafe and the mock interviews, those kinds of things in order to get geared up for that. Now, this is a little bit early, but I think it's good to prepare them so they can know what they need to be doing next year, kind of deal on that too. And again, education abroad will come up. And so we just kind of talk about that as far as, is that something that is still of interest, or you decided not to do that? Did that trip fall through? Also, hey, did you have a great time? So, learned a lot. It was a great experience. So there's a lot of things that we just kind of touch on that as well. So with the juniors, so you can kind of see we're trying to work with the whole student, not just classes, but also, career stuff in the end, but also kind of any of those resources that they need. We want to work with the whole student, because we know that they are a whole person, and it's not just the classes. So senior year, this is 7th, 8th semester. So here these are the kind of the critical things. So check upper division GPA for graduation. We want to make sure even their first semester of their junior year, where they are, what it's looking like. Do they have a goal? Do they know what is this expected of them, and how can they meet that goal? Do they have some tough things? A lot of times there's some very difficult classes that will be going on during that time. And so we want to make sure that, okay, are you making allowances for that? Are you going to be working as much? There's just a lot of factors there. And then we want to review the degree audit for completion for graduation requirements. We want to make sure there's nothing missing. Do they need the exit survey? Have they taken the civics exam? Residency, they're wanting to transfer back some classes. Is that an option? Maybe, maybe not. So with that, we want to check. And do we have exceptions? Is there something that should be on the audit that's not on the audit? What do we need to do to get that updated? There's just a lot of things there. So we try to meet those, go over those, so that we don't have issues later on. Another thing that we do is the senior checklist, and we usually start doing the senior checklist when we actually meet with them, when we file their degree program and their application to graduate. But I had too many things on that list. But we definitely want to do it now. Our senior checklist is, applying for graduation, making sure they do that. And there's those extra things, the exit survey, the civics exam. Do they have a financial aid loan that they need to do an exit interview for? What's their audit look like? And the career center, just to making sure, I'm just kind of gonna jump over here, but they'll have, career fair opportunities this year, and also to let them, know, are they registered with career center? They have additional services that they can use for alumni, and a lot of them don't realize that. So we try to make sure that they do realize that we're not just throwing them to the wolves kind of thing after they get, hopefully they won't be dealing with that. But if something happened, then and they did not have a job at the end, then they could still use the career center. So we just try to make sure that they they're aware of those. And then also of, if they're interested in graduate programs, if they are in the accelerated, but they need to know kind of what they need to do for that, we'll refer them to that. Are they doing the regular? Are they interested in other graduate programs at other schools? Then we try to get them kind of referred to where they need to be, who they need to see, that kind of thing, in order to get that information that they need. So this is with the seniors. So this is our planning through the department, through the classes. So freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And then we also kind of have some things that we talk about through by the month. So because sometimes there's time in the semester that can be critical for certain information. And we want to provide a timeline within the semester to help the students stay focused and on track. And these would just be general guidelines for the students so that they can kind of add their own things as far as other things that they need to do, adjust things, depending on, their personal schedule, their academic load, their particular goals that they have. Maybe they won't need to add study for the LSAT if they're thinking law school, or, there's just all kinds of things that they can add to this. So starting at the beginning of the semester, and so fall and spring are fairly similar. There's a couple of things that are a little bit different that we kind of, and I've kind of put them in there that would be probably one more versus the other. But normally the beginning of the semester is the beginning of the semester. So late August or middle to late January, then we're looking at these particular things that we would recommend that the students do. One roadblock that I have seen is that they can't get access to something, and they may not let me know until third week, which at that point it's, you can't get into Blackboard, Brightspace, then it's a problem. At this point, it's almost, I don't know if we can save it or not kind of problem, because you've missed too much work. So it's important. We want to make sure that they have access to their Bear Mail, my Missouri State, Brightspace. That is, and that's more probably for the new students, or if we have a new system. So we may be dealing with that with Brightspace this fall, making sure that they know how to do that. But the main thing is just to make sure that they have access. Sometimes they're still shy. They don't know who to ask. They're afraid to ask, to say they don't know something. So we want to make sure that they have that. So that's kind of one of our kind of ask questions. Do you have access to everything? And so that would be just our new students, new transfer, returning students. Sometimes they have some issues with those things. We also want to remind them to check their syllabi for assignments, test dates, policies regarding test proctoring and AI. Faculty are going to be very different on test proctoring and AI. So in one class, it may be one way, in one place, it may be another. And we know that, but the students need to realize that. And I'm thinking with the addition of AI, that's going to be some questions with that. So we want to make sure that they know the policies and know what is allowed with that. Another thing is just to purchase your textbooks, and a book list is available. I haven't seen this lately, but it's not been that long ago that I had students who were not buying, and it was more than one, but that would not buy their textbooks, and then were concerned and didn't really understand the correlation that they weren't doing well in the class. So I have put this on my list of things that I want to make sure. Now, be sure and buy your books. Of course, that's different now, with the ebooks and all of that. It may be easier, but money is sometimes an issue. And so it's important, though, that they realize that the importance of the reading material that goes along with the class that they're taking. So we just kind of reiterate that. We also want to make sure that they're checking their Bear Mail daily to avoid missing out on important information. And we do know that they probably don't all do that. I'm hoping that since they can sync it to their phone and everything, that's a little bit bit better these days, but we do know that sometimes they don't do that. And we specifically remind our online students of this, because you would think that they would be the ones that would not do that, but they seem to be the ones that have an issue with checking their bear mail more often than our seated students. And then also to remind them to use their bear mail when corresponding with MSU offices, because that's critical for us to know that who we're talking to is that student. So those are just kind of some things kind of at the beginning of the semester. In September, February, in this time period, we have the schedules come out. So we know what's going to be offered the next semester. So we want the students to make an appointment. They need to check their registration status for the earliest registration date and possible holds to make sure that they know what they need to do for that. We want them to run a degree audit to see how they're doing progress-wise, and then review to see what might be needed next semester. When they start looking, trial schedule builder, that kind of thing, to see what's offered, then kind of see what's offered, what's needed, is that different? And then we try to check as far as for like time conflicts. This class doesn't work well together, but these students are going to want to take them together. And then other things, maybe a class is only offered in the fall, but they're looking for it in the spring. Hopefully we don't have anything, it's just they're not offering it, but you need it kind of deal. But we need to know that. We try to look at those things ahead of time, but definitely if a student finds something, we need them to let us know as soon as they know, and hopefully, because registration won't start until April, that this will be, we can take care of things, we can fix it. Can we find somebody to teach something that they just didn't have yet, kind of thing. So these are just some things that we want them to think about early, so that we can, if there is an issue, we can resolve it before their earliest registration date. The FAFSA, that's been kind of crazy this year with the moving the deadline and everything, but this would just be something that we would put wherever we needed. They needed to do it, just to remind them that they need to be sure and fill that out. Okay, so then with October, November, March, April, if they haven't made their appointment, we really want them to at this point. Because we want to be able to get them in before the earliest registration date, which is why we start so early in trying to get them. But we definitely want them to register on their earliest registration date so they can get what they need. If they can. Now, sometimes that's not possible. We know particular holds or things that we have to take care of before. But if they can at all, it's important for them to register on the earliest registration date. If their sections are closed, then we ask that they see, is there a wait list? Is there something we can do? Then, of course, then we look for alternatives and that kind of thing. We also, especially for our online students, our online sections close quickly. And it seems like our online students are the ones that don't necessarily register on their earliest registration date. And because they have a lot going on, they're usually working full time. A lot of times they're working full time. This is, it's just, there's just a lot. So we like to, especially with those students, when we talk to them, to see what we can do for them to be able to definitely register as early as they can. This is also the midterm time. And so we want to make sure that with that, they're utilizing their resources for tutoring. Bear Claw, the College of Business, we have an additional tutoring lab, the Writing Center. And then we also recommend, that they seek assistance from faculty. Do they have questions about things? Sometimes they're reluctant to see faculty, but we try to, encourage them to always talk to their faculty member with any issues that they have with the class, because it may be a simple thing and that they can definitely get the help from their faculty member. Another thing that we like to do at this point, because we're looking at, so October, November, school's gonna be over in December. Still got a couple months before the end of the semester, is just to make sure, are there any large projects that they haven't started yet? Is there anything that can maybe help alleviate some of that last minute rush with finals and final projects? Maybe there's not, but there might be something that they could do, get started on, kind of get prepped for, so that it wouldn't be such a major rush there at the end. And then in December, May, we got finals. So again, just using those resources. Also remind them to watch for review or study sessions, because some classes, instructors, faculty do that. And especially like if it's a comprehensive final, they might do that. So we just kind of, in addition, just kind of see what the review study sessions, see if there's anything there. For those that are graduating, we just kind of recommend that, we kind of go through all that again, commencement details, making sure they know where to find information on when, where, cap and gown, all of that, plus where their families can find that information on when to show up and where to park and all of that good stuff. So we want to make sure that they have that kind of information. One of the things I do also like to do in December is to remind the students to use their winter break, if they have extra time, to fill out the general scholarship application. And as time goes on, when they first start it, they won't have much to add, but as they go on, sophomore, junior, senior, then they'll have more information to add. And so they can, kind of build on that. And it's, the deadline will be coming up. They're going to be really busy in that spring semester at the beginning. So if they can at least get it where it's manageable for them to be able to submit it before the deadline, I think it's definitely advantageous to the students. And then I also have FAFSA here, just kind of depending on kind of what's going on. But that's also something, not sure how much of that they can fill out, but at least they can kind of get it where they know what they need to do and they can plan. And so that's kind of our main thing, to make sure that we don't have surprises. Okay, so that's kind of how we do planning by the semester, by the class, and by the month. So our main thing, I know a lot of you offices have things that you do that work great for you. And, but I guess our question is, how can we be more proactive and use this academic planning to better serve our students? So that's kind of what we, kind of what I'm putting out there, I guess, is that, how can we do that? And these are just a few of the things that we have come up with that seem to work for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carmen. We have a couple questions in chat, but before I look at those questions, to follow up with what Carmen ended with, are there ideas on how you can be proactive and use academic planning to better serve your students? So Carmen, we really appreciate you sharing information from the College of Business. Would anyone like to either share by coming off of mute or at least putting something in the chat feature?
I don't know if this is really, not really a suggestion or idea necessarily, but just a comment. I wrote it down. I really liked how you all were tracking the number of appointments. I'm assuming you use You Can Book Me, or do you use Calendly?
we use You Can Book Me.
Okay, so being able to like track the number of appointments, and I think you mentioned it in the presentation as well, but kind of catering your communication plan and also seeing like, okay, we send out this email, did that result in a spike in meetings for that week or whatever? And so I think that's really interesting and something that I wrote down thinking about for the coaches, like tracking, okay, when we send out these messages, do we see a spike in meetings with our students? And so I just wanted to comment that I thought that was I thought that was really cool, for lack of a better word. So thank you for sharing that.
No, thank you.
Okay, what are some other ways that you proactively reach out to students within your areas?
Well, this is a shameless plug for Nathan and his team, and also his comment. But every month we run a graduation report, just to double check that students are on track, if there's missing components to their graduation checklists. Because we don't want students to call us a year later and go, I never got my diploma, and come to find out they didn't complete the exit survey.
Oh, I was just looking at Nathan's comment because I hadn't seen that. So, but that's good to know that we can actually now see who have applied, because I have run into that they didn't realize that, you know, when they don't have to see us, sometimes they don't. So,
Hey, Carmen, and I do think there was one question in the chat, to find it again, but regarding slides 2 and, or no, numbers 2 and 3 on slide 13, what level of integration do academic advisors refer students to the Career Center?
I'm not exactly sure that I understand level of integration. I mean, I think that's something we give them information. We try to get them kind of started with a website. If it feels like that they, need to see see someone or they want to, then we would refer them to one of the specialists to meet with them. We do have Todd Huglow in our office. So a lot of times, we say they can make an appointment on their way out, kind of thing, if that's kind of what you're thinking there. But we don't, it's not like a blanket thing that if anybody has any question on a career, we say, hey, go see Todd. No, we don't do that. We try to kind of give them something to think about and have them do some research on their own, hopefully, before they, kind of talk to the Career Center. I mean, I think that's, if we should do something different, we could do that, but that's kind of what we would do. And hope that answers your question, Christina.
Yeah, and Christina also mentioned just in general the all college academic advisors, how do you integrate the Career Center? So for the AATC, we actually partnered with the Career Center this spring to try something new, since many of our undeclared students do declare a major after their first semester at the university, but for those that remain undeclared, In the spring semester, this is the first year that we have assigned a career resource specialist to those undeclared students. So, and we've communicated with the students regarding an assignment of a CRS through text messaging as well as through email. I know that there are some colleges that embed the Career Center into particular courses and really talk about the services of the Career Center in courses. Does anyone else, feel free if someone else from an academic college would like to chime in on that? Okay, and Carmen, you're getting a lot of thank yous, so I will echo what's popping up in the chat, and thank you for presenting on this important topic and for representing the College of Business and the Business Advisement Center for all the work that you all do. Again, everyone, this advisor forum has been recorded, so it will be posted on the Most State Advising YouTube channel. Likely this week or early next week at the latest. We are offering the Advising Basics and the Master Advisor workshops on Monday, May 13th and Tuesday, May 14th. There are still, I think, 3 seats left in the Master Advisor workshop and a few seats remaining in the Advising Basics workshop. So if you know individuals from your areas who could benefit from attending either of those workshops, please send them our way. Otherwise, everyone enjoy the rest of your semester. Happy commencement, happy summer, and hopefully we will see each other again in the fall semester when our advisor forum series begins again. Thank you, everyone. Bye.